Welcome to MMA Play 365. I'm Newsome and I'm here to give you a Base AI recap from last weekend's UFC event from our UFC prediction software at UFC Vegas 68. Now, across the board, I think it was actually 50% with the straight pick prediction accuracy, which, it's obviously not where we want to be, but a few things, one, there was a lot of unknown fighters that I actually think that Base AI did a great job on. But then there was a few other things as well, like JeongYeong Kim fight got pulled against Mandy Bohm. JeongYeong Kim was favoured by Base AI. I thought she had a comfortable fight. Ho Choi was favoured by the AI as well. That fight ended up being a draw from a really weird point deduction that even Dana White said was bullshit in his words, and actually paid Ho Choi his win bonus from that fight as well. So, there's a few things that could have made that straight pick prediction accuracy a little bit better. But like I said, overall, I was actually happy with Base AI because it was doing a good job on the fights that, not many people knew about, and fighters that were relatively unknown. And of course, the whole point of this recap is to go through some of them. So that's where we're going to start right now. And we're going to start in a value section as well. So this can mean a few things, but in the one particular fight that I'm talking about here, it was a correct prediction from Base AI. However, it was a prediction where Base AI was saying the line should have been much closer from a betting perspective, and that was the case as well. So for me, it was a really good prediction and assessment of the fight that we've got in front of us, and it was JeongYeong Lee versus Ijar. So Base AI had JeongYeong Lee to win at 55%. The odds implied on that is minus 122. But Lee was actually between minus 200 and minus 220 to win that fight, which, you look at that fight and it just didn't play out that way. It was a close fight. It was a close decision. Some people thought Ijar won. I personally think the judges got it right just because Ijar, the control time wasn't really scoring highly, whereas when there was separation out in space, Lee was landing the better strikes, and that's what the judges look for. However, regardless of how you want to score this fight, it was a close fight, and it was a fight where Lee didn't look as a minus 200, minus 220 favourite. He did look much closer to minus 122. So although it was a correct prediction from Base AI, it also had the fight much closer than what it should have been from a betting perspective. So again, for me, a great prediction, good assessment of the fight from Base AI as well. So that's where we're looking at the value, because if you did bet Lee, you'd have been betting a sweat with the minus 200 juiced betting line, a sweat that Base AI would have suggested that you shouldn't have took. However, if you're just playing this for fun and you threw Lee into a parlay just because Base AI had him to win, then again, you're not going to sweat too much with a lower stake parlay that you've just built up to try and win something big with a smaller amount of money. However, if you are betting big, you are playing the long-term game, then again, Base AI might have just saved you with a little bit of a sweat and maybe saved you some hairs on your head. And now we're going to move into the solid winners section. So the first fight that we're going to talk about is Anshul Jubli versus Jeka Saragih, which was the road to UFC lightweight final. I went head-to-head with Base AI here. I bet Jeka Saragih. I thought he was live, especially as a plus money underdog. Anshul Jubli ended up being the underdog by the time they both got into the cage, but more often than not, when this happens with me and Base AI comes out on top, and it did here again as well. So Base AI had Jubli to win at 61%, so it was basically saying that Anshul Jubli should have been around minus 156. Even at Anshul Jubli's worst price at minus 120, there was value there. But Jubli ended up closing at plus 145 by the time they stepped in the cage. So again, you've got good value on that minus 156, 61% prediction from Base AI at the worst possible line for Jubli at around minus 120. But if you'd waited and you'd left it till last minute, then you're getting an insane amount of value, because he closed at plus 145 when Base AI was saying he should have been minus 156. So that was a real solid winner from Base AI in my opinion. And the next solid winner, not too much value in this one, but I've picked this fight just because the general consensus from the public was that this fighter was going to lose the fight. We've got Junyong Park versus Denis Tiuliulin. So that general consensus from the public, it was that Tiuliulin was going to win this fight, and Park made this fight look easy. It was okay striking, which is where Tiuliulin was dangerous, and then obviously Park took him down and was just dominant from then. Base AI had Junyong Park to win at 55%. Odds implied there is minus 122. Park was minus 200 as a favourite. So like I said, there wasn't any value from what Bayes AI was saying. However, from a straight pick prediction, it was a solid winner, and it also was picking a side where the public was, from the most part, I'm not saying all the public, but the public from the most part was on the opposite side. And again, Bayes AI won that battle there as well. So although no value, still a solid prediction, especially when everything seemed to be the other way on the opponent of Junyong Park. Now, next up, we've got a 4-tier result from Bayes AI, which I would normally categorize as a gem. However, I'm not going to categorize this as a gem because each tier doesn't hold too much value. But the reason why I'm including it in the solid predictions is because each tier is correct in regards to a prediction. So if you are playing the long-term game, then yeah, there's no value from what Bayes AI was predicting to what you'd have got at the bookies. However, if you are wanting to play this from a fun gambler's perspective or in your own way, however that might be, you might have had some fun with this. And again, it is a 4-tier correct prediction. It's just when you're comparing it to the betting lines, there was no value in regards to those. But again, all depends how you're playing with Bayes AI. So with this fight, we've got Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar. Now, Taira to win was 59%. Odds implied on that is minus 144. Obviously, Taira at the bookies, minus 800 to minus 1200, minus 1400 in some places. So yeah, like I said, there's not much value. However, a correct prediction nonetheless when you take the betting lines out of it. Now, Taira to win inside the distance, so you're adding the knockout and the submission together, 46% odds implied. That's plus 117 at the bookies. Minus 140 it opened. It closed at around minus 250. So you might have had a decent bet at minus 140, but obviously by minus 250 the line had gone. No value compared to what Bayes AI's prediction was, but again, a correct prediction nonetheless. Now, Taira to win by submission was 36%. So you might have been thinking, well, there's only 10% between the 46 and the 36. I'll just take Taira to win by submission. That's his most likely outcome. Plus 178 odds implied. You'd have got minus 135 to minus 150. So again, although no value from what Bayes AI is predicting, the line's coming very closer to being something that's playable. It's another correct prediction. Then we go one step further into the tiers. Taira submission round 1 specifically. 21% from Bayes AI. Odds implied there. Plus 376. The odds you'd have got plus 200. So at least you're now getting plus money for something on this tier. However, no value compared to what Bayes AI has predicted. But again, depends how you're playing it. And another correct prediction. So like I said, even though there's no value, it hit the nail across the board. It's just the odds were a little bit too inflated to what Bayes AI was predicting, that's all. So still a great job from Bayes AI. And the final solid prediction of last weekend's event, we're moving into another 4-tier prediction that does have some value. So we've got Rinya Nakamura versus Toshiomi Kazama. Nakamura to win was 70% from Bayes AI, so very, very high. 70%, minus 233, odds implied. At the bookies, Nakamura opened up minus 350, closed at minus 500. So here, for the money line perspective, there wasn't any value on the money line. Although Bayes AI was very confident Nakamura was going to win, and it was a correct prediction. And it also played out like that. Now, Nakamura to win inside the distance by finish, so that's knockout submission percentages added together from Bayes AI, you get 57%. So at 57%, odds implied on that is minus 133. At the bookies, you could have got anywhere between minus 110 and it closed minus 150. So if you got in there nice and early, you got a minus 110, minus 115, minus 120, minus 125. You're getting some value, obviously past minus 130 into minus 150 or and anything in between that. Again, you'd have lost some value, but you would have had some value there definitely early on from Nakamura to win inside the distance. Now, Nakamura's biggest method of victory was knockout and TKO. So if you decided to not take the submission and just go for KO TKO, you'd have got 45% prediction from Bayes AI. The odds implied on 45% is plus 122. If you'd have bet it at the bookies, you'd have got plus 100. So again, it's just dipped on the value there, but it's still plus money. You might have still wanted to play with it if you're having a bit of fun or trying to hit one of these long shot parlays. No value technically to Bayes AI, but very close, and you are still getting plus money. But we finally finish off on Nakamura to win by knockout in round 1 specifically. Now, that was 40% predicted from Bayes AI, so it's only a 5% difference from a knockout TKO in total to actually round specific. And at 40%, you're looking at plus 150 odds implied. At the bookies, you're actually getting plus 200 to plus 290. It went that high. So there was a ton of value actually. And this was where the main value was in the entire 4-tier system here. Nakamura to win by knockout, TKO in round 1 was where the value was. You'd have got an amazing betting line, a ton of value from Base AI, and ultimately a cash ticket and happy days. So that concludes the solid winners section. We are now actually going to move to a surprise loss to talk about as well. So the surprise loss here was actually Yusaku Kinoshita versus Adam Fugitt. And I think that this was a surprise loss for a lot of people. There was a lot of people back Kinoshita. He opened up as quite a big favourite. He got bet into a bigger favourite. But Base AI had Kinoshita to win at 67%. Odds implied on 67%, saying that he should have been minus 203. But he was actually minus 350 on the betting line. So again, that was a loss, and a surprise loss because again, Base AI at 67% is relatively confident, as is the public. That's not how it played out. Fugitt ran through him, but Fugitt to win, Base AI had at 33%. Now at 33%, Base AI saying that Fugitt should have been a plus 203 underdog. You could have actually got Fugitt at plus 260. So technically, if you're taking out the win-loss percentages and you're just looking at this from a value perspective, you've actually got some good value there, because even Base AI, when it's saying that it's confident or relatively confident that Fugitt's going to lose, it's still providing some value, because it's saying Fugitt's going to lose and he should be a plus 203 underdog, but he's actually a plus 260 underdog, so you're getting some value there as well. So although it's a surprise loss, you could have still found some value in it if you just look at the numbers a little bit deeper and not just take the win-loss percentage into whatever you're using Base AI for in regards to your bets. As I've mentioned a million times, there's so many different ways you can use Base AI, but it's still finding value even in a loss. I like that, but it was a surprise loss nonetheless. I thought Kinoshita was going to win. I think the public thought Kinoshita was going to win. The bookies thought Kinoshita was going to win as well. Base AI thought it, but obviously it didn't happen. But again, Base AI still provided value even though it was a loss. So the surprise loss, all good. I think, again, from an event perspective, 50% overall from a straight pick prediction accuracy is not where we want to be. However, there was a lot of unknown fights. You'd have still found value through Base AI. Remember, we are predicting giving predictions for every single fight, not isolating a few of the favourites, for example. So, we are always going to have some kickback every now and again. Again, I still think it's been a good event with some value to be found as well. An event where not many people knew anything about most of the fighters on the card. But we'll be back next week for UFC 284, where that should be a little bit different. We do have some newcomers, but again, for the most part, a phenomenal card. Really looking forward to seeing where Base AI is looking, especially on the main event and the co-main event with Makhachev and Volkanovski, with that super fight where Volkanovski is attempting to become a double champ. And then in the co-main event, we've got the interim featherweight championship between Yair Rodriguez and Josh Emmett. Really interested to see what Base AI has got for both of those fighters. Of course, we'll be back next week with another recap from UFC 284 from that Base AI UFC prediction software perspective. Thank you for listening. I'm Newsome, and I'll see you again next week.